The trial that Ripple has been trying against the SEC for a very long time has finally come to a close. For the history of cryptocurrencies, this is one of the most positive signals that has ever been seen. Some cryptocurrency analysts are even forecasting that the price of XRP might reach $10,000 or even higher. It's quite cool, isn't it? Now let's take a closer look at what's actually taking place here. This video is going to blow your head, I promise you that. All right, without further ado, let's get started. Legal notice. The curtain has finally fallen on one of the judicial disputes in the history of cryptocurrency that has been monitored by the most people. There have been heated judicial disputes between Ripple Labs and the Securities and Exchange Commission for the past 5 years. However, Ripple Labs has finally concluded its disagreement with the SEC by agreeing to a payment of $125 million, as disclosed in court records on August 18th. Mark Fagel, a retired securities lawyer who shared the news on X, referred to it as a long-awaited end to a lawsuit that has defined Ripple's course for the past half a decade. The case, which was initially submitted in December of 2020, centered on the question of whether or not XRP, which is Ripple's native coin, ought to be categorized as a security. Over a period of years, the asset was subjected to a significant shadow created by the uncertainty, which restricted its adoption and kept price movement from occurring. Many members of the community are curious about what the future holds for XRP now that the dust has completely settled. The cryptocurrency attorney Bill Morgan did not mince words. In response to X, he replied, "Yes, the lawsuit excuse has run its course for any further lack of XRP adoption or flat price action." He indicated that this was the case. The feeling that is on the rise in the market is reflected in his comment. Ripple is no longer able to conceal itself between regulatory limbo. The company is now under intense scrutiny to demonstrate that it is capable of delivering genuine growth and that XRP can demonstrate its usefulness within the larger cryptocurrency ecosystem. On the other hand, concentrating entirely on cost may blind one to the wider picture. Ripple has been quietly constructing an astonishing ecosystem that spans the entire world. It was a historic moment when, at the beginning of September, a proposal for an exchange-traded fund, ETF, based on XRP was presented to the CBOE exchange under the ticker symbol XRPR. This would be the first spot XRP ETF to be listed in the United States. Exchange-traded funds, also known as ETFs, are essentially a collection of assets that are exchanged on regular stock markets. For those who are not familiar with the concept, an ETF is comparable to a share of Apple or Tesla. In this scenario, a spot XRP exchange-traded fund ETF would directly monitor the price of XRP. This would make it possible for institutional investors, pension funds, and ordinary traders in traditional finance to gain exposure to XRP without having to purchase or manage the tokens themselves. What is the significance? ETFs frequently serve as a conduit between Wall Street and cryptocurrency markets. Bitcoin and Ethereum exchange-traded funds, ETFs, have already been shown to attract billions of dollars in institutional capital, which in turn has caused prices to rise. XRP might experience a significant surge in demand and liquidity if it were to obtain its own spot exchange-traded fund, ETF. This would provide the token with the kind of mainstream legitimacy it has been yearning for. As a result, what does this mean for XRP? The settlement of $125 million brings an unpleasant chapter in Ripple's history to a close, and removes years of uncertainty from the company's portfolio. But in addition to that, it eliminates the final fundamental justification for why the token has fallen behind its contemporaries. In the meantime, John Squire galvanized the community by saying, "XRP Army stand unstoppable together," and XRP Captain boldly projected that XRP will climb to $130. These messages are a reflection of the XRP community, which is frequently referred to as the XRP Army, and the sheer enthusiasm and optimism that they exude. However, the discussion does not end when the prices reach the triple digits. Jack the Rippler, a crypto enthusiast, submitted a topic that may be considered controversial on social media. Do you think it's possible that XRP might reach $10,000 per token by the end of the year 2030? At first sight, the number appears to be so ambitious that it is almost laughable. A stunning growth of more than 333,000% would be required for the price of XRP to reach $10,000 at its current location. Not only would this projection reshape the XRP market, but it would also reshape the cryptocurrency market as a whole, propelling its market value into unknown territory and making it one of the largest in the history of finance. The responses generated by the community were just as animated as the question itself. One of the commenters, Susanna, brought attention to the enormous magnitude of the figure. by pointing out that if XRP were to reach $10,000, its market valuation would be incredibly near to $1,000 trillion, which is significantly more than the existing benchmarks for global finance. During this time, Daphne reminded everyone to exercise cautious, pointing out that reaching such a significant milestone would necessitate the perfect alignment of a number of essential criteria: universal adoption, regulatory certainty, and substantial utility. She characterized the objective as being quite lofty. It is not completely impossible, however, provided that Ripple continues to broaden its ecosystem and acquire legitimacy through initiatives such as the option of stablecoins and exchange-traded funds, ETFs. From my point of view, these conversations, despite the fact that they are hypothetical, highlight an important reality regarding XRP. It is no longer merely a token that is unable to be regulated in any way. Ripple was able to drive adoption, attract institutional investment, and grow its infrastructure on a worldwide scale as a result of the settlement it reached with the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. The price of XRP is still unpredictable, and it is not known whether it will reach $130, $1,000, or even the improbable $10,000 barrier. The extent of the institutional prospects and the level of enthusiasm that the community has shown for the token, on the other hand, indicate that its potential has not yet been fully utilized. At the very least, the narrative of XRP has flipped from one of facing legal challenges to one of being presented with strategic opportunities. Ripple now has a platform to redefine itself and possibly the cryptocurrency industry as a whole, thanks to the clarity of legal requirements, the possibility of exchange-traded funds, ETFs, stablecoin expansion, and advocates who are excited about the cryptocurrency. Over the next several years, not only might XRP undergo a transformation, but also the future of cryptocurrency acceptance on a worldwide scale could be significantly altered. Now, let's take a look at the relationships that Ripple has. At the back of the curtain, things are getting out of hand. Please believe me when I say that the bullish signals that are coming out of these transactions are about to blow your mind. Some of these collaborations have the potential to be game changers for XRP. Therefore, the influence of Ripple is not limited to the United States of America. Its influence is spreading over the entire world, and the United Kingdom is taking notice of it. Discussions that took place in the United Kingdom Parliament not too long ago brought to light the possible role that XRP could play in the future of global payments, so indicating an illustration of XRP's dual character is provided by the fact that it has transitioned from a judicial conflict to a tool of global finance. There is a cryptocurrency that has both speculative appeal and functional asset value that can be used in the real world. Given that the United Kingdom has acknowledged XRP, it is possible that this will be the beginning of a chain reaction that will eventually lead to its incorporation into financial systems all over the world. This will pave the way for widespread use and ultimately an increase in price. Moreover, this is when things start to get truly exciting. Whales have been discreetly amassing millions of XRP coins behind the scenes throughout this entire process. Please believe me when I say that this is a bullish signal that you cannot afford to ignore, and what is going to happen next might really surprise you. Not only are regulatory victories or widespread acceptance of XRP contributing to the frenzy surrounding this cryptocurrency, but whales are also beginning to take action. Ripple wallets that hold between 1 million and 10 million XRP have seen their holdings climb from 6.74 billion to 6.77 billion XRP in just the past 24 hours alone, an increase of approximately 30 million tokens on a net basis, as stated by the cryptocurrency analyst Ali Martinez. Based on the information provided by Whale Alert, whale wallets were responsible for the transfer of about $812 million worth of XRP between addresses that were not identifiable. The attention of traders and investors is frequently drawn to these large-scale strategic transfers, particularly during periods of low volatility or small price pullbacks. It is possible that this kind of activity is a strong indication that these insiders, often known as whales, are getting ready for a huge move in the market. With that being said, what does this imp leave for the cost of XRP? The accumulation of whales during periods of decline has historically been known to result in a supply crunch. It is common for there to be upward price pressure when there are fewer tokens circulating in the market that are combined with continuous demand. The buying behavior of large holders, known as whales, typically predicts rallies in the cryptocurrency market. This is due to the fact that large holders possess the capital and the insight necessary to observe and forecast market patterns. From my point of view, this accumulation is especially noteworthy because it coincides with the recent momentum that XRP